Hey guys, it's been a while. How you all doing? I gotta tell you, this COVID thing has been weird. We just got in a wonderful shipment from Selmer of this great intermediate saxophone, this step-up Lavoie 2. These are beautiful, fully engraved, made in Taiwan. I test played this horn and I was nothing less than amazed. It really played beautifully. We got a very, very special deal on these. I'm not saying prices on anything, but they are truly insane, I must say. Reminds me of Crazy Eddie back in New Jersey. Our prices are insane! They really are incredible, guys. Come give them a try. You will not be disappointed. You will play it and go, oh my lord. This much horn for this much money, it's a good one.
Paul and Drums here at chucklevins.com. Wanted to highlight a couple of exciting items here in the drum department. First, we have the Sonor Benny Greb model snare drum. Very interesting piece. 13 by 5 3/4 inch beech shell. Historically, the earlier Sonor drums were primarily made of beech and are still used to date. We have 2 internal mufflers and a most interesting snare drum strainer mechanism here. Beautiful drum and made in Germany, like all of the flagship Sonor drums. One of the most sought after items in the drum department this holiday season will be the Roland V drums, and in particular, this particular iteration of the TD17, which is the KVX configuration, which has the third cymbal and uses the VH10 hi-hat, which does require an actual hi-hat stand. Very nice kit, has Bluetooth connectivity so that you can play along to music on your phone and such. Hot kit, check it out here at chucklevins.com.
Hi everybody, Paul Shine here at Washington Music. You know us, you know me. Presenting the new American Professional 2 Fenders, which have finally arrived, or they've been arriving for a couple of weeks here. New colors, new features. People have been eagerly awaiting these, and of course we have them because you know how we do. Really cool new colors like this Miami blue. If you have trouble waking up in the morning, I think this will fix you right up. The features are sculpted heel, which they kind of inherited off the Elite and Ultra series, and a couple other pickups with beveled magnets like they did in the early 60s. The Sunburst one kind of has the SRV look with the tortoiseshell guard, which I think looks great with the rosewood board, and the baked pine body, because thanks to our little emerald borer beetle friend, ash is hard to find anymore, and they're saving what they have for their custom shop instruments. So, if you need them, Washington Music, come and see us, or give us a call, or go online. Thanks.
It's gotta be against the law to look this damn good. Watch out now. Cause baby, I feel real good and I wish I would. Watch out now. It's gotta be against the law to look this damn good. Watch out now. Everybody watch out. Watch out now. I'm ready for a good time, and I came to groove. The whole band's here, and we came to move. Got a fresh haircut and 2 new shoes. We're here all night like we got nothing to lose. I'm coming out the jacket cause we're turning up the heat. I wanna see you clapping when you get up out your seat. It's time to make it happen when we hit these streets. I'm coming in hot, and I can't be beat. Watch out now.
Hello, world. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to another Chuck Levins Live, episode 30. 30 weeks straight. Yep, that's it. We've been doing it 30 weeks straight, going live Wednesday nights. Chuck Levins Live. We got a super cool episode tonight. I got the man, the myth, the legend, Jerry Athey with me today.
Hey, hello everybody.
How's it going, Jerry?
Good. What's up, Adam?
You know, we're here. We're doing it. Jerry is literally like right over there at the microphone counter in the store. We're doing this the right way, above board. being safe while the store's still open. Because yeah, we're still open right now, but we got to go live. This is what we do.
We're here.
Jerry, this is the first time you've been on the stream. Tell the world a little about yourself. Microphone king of Chuck Levin's. Tell the world.
Yeah, Jerry Athey. All right. Well, I'm the mic guy here. I've been running the mic counter here for about the past 5 years. I came from Pro Audio, as you don't know me. But my background's in engineering. I worked in broadcast sales for many years, and happy to be here.
No better man to have on the stream when we talk about one of the most legendary brands in microphones and audio technology. I think you'd be hard pressed to think of any brand that has a storied history as important and as colorful as Neumann. We have had a phenomenal relationship with them for many, many, many years, and it has been nothing short of a treat to be able to represent these microphones and have them and play with them and listen to them. They are phenomenal. They really do represent the top. It is iconic. You'd be hard pressed not to recognize that badge, and we're going to dig into that and really what this means and why these microphones are as cool as they are. But as usual, and with thanks to our awesome friends at Neumann, we have one of my favorite giveaways so far. Boom.
Yeah.
The Neumann NDH 20 headphones, $500 for free. Just got to enter. It's easy. It's easy.
Do it.
Do it.
They're
Don't
good.
miss out. Don't miss out. The guys behind the scenes are going to drop the link in the comments. You can check it out on chucklevins.com. It's right on the homepage. These things are sweet. If you are an audio engineer, you need them. You just need them. If you are not an audio engineer, they sound ridiculously good, and you will enjoy them. So don't miss out. It's almost holiday time. Be a great gift. So just enter. Just try it out. Lots of ways to do it. NDH 20, Neumann. And it's super cool that Neumann now does all these other audio products. They dove into the world of studio monitors a couple years back. I love talking about Neumann stuff. I'm such a nerd for this sort of thing, so this is going to be a wild time. But yeah, I think without further ado, let's bring on the big brains. We got Jamie Criswell, and we got our man Chris Kontopanos from Sennheiser and Neumann.
Hey, Jamie, you
Gentlemen,
How you doing,
welcome.
Howdy, fellas.
Hello. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for inviting us. We're honored.
Thanks for being
Absolutely.
here.
Yep.
Well, why don't you guys tell us a little bit about yourselves? Let's start with Chris, because I've been dealing with you, Chris, for a good long while. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, your history with the company, and then we'll get into Jamie as well.
Absolutely. Thanks, Adam. Hi, Jerry, Adam, Jamie, and people. Appreciate you joining us. So Chris Kontopanos is my name. I have been working for Sennheiser / Neumann for going on 15 years now. At one point covering about half the United States, but for quite some time I have been dealing with the Mid-Atlantic area. I have had the pleasure to work with Chuck Levin's Washington Music Center for all of that time. And yes, very knowledgeable folks. And we're very happy to be here with you today to share some information and maybe learn some things as well. Take it away, Jamie.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jamie Criswell. I'm a business development manager at Sennheiser. I've been on board for 5 years, and essentially my role in the company is to assist the sales staff, people like Chris. I come from the production background, so I'm largely responsible for the live sound happenings here at Sennheiser, things like Cirque du Soleil and Broadway. And touring and things of that nature, but also, in a more general sense, I'm here to help the sales guys and developing markets and talking to end users, and we're certainly we're certainly beyond thrilled to spend a little time with you tonight. This is Neumann is just such a storied past, even within the realm of Sennheiser, and it's just it's one of my most favorite aspects of my job. So yeah, so thank you, thanks for inviting us.
Let's get right into it. Yeah, let's get right into it. I mean, the story of Neumann is certainly worth talking about. I mean, music is a industry that loves to understand where it came from, and the rich history that goes along with these things really gives validation to the products, that they've been around this long, that they've stood the test of time, that they've been used by those musicians and artists that we know Neumann has been recording the voices of for so many decades. So why don't you guys tell us a little bit about the start? Where did Neumann get a start? Tell us about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll go through some specific points here. There's a lot of information, and that we're going to gloss over some of it because it's pretty in depth. But to start with, Neumann was founded in 1928, and shortly thereafter, they developed a relationship with a company that we know as Telefunken, which the current Telefunken is a license acquisition of the old Telefunken. But in that year, 1928, Neumann released the first commercially available condenser microphone called the CMV-3, which also is known as the bottle microphone due to its appearance. And that microphone actually was the most standard microphone and the most widely used microphone up until Neumann came out with another model in the 1940s. And 1931, Neumann also started developing record lathe machines for phonographs. Also, in 1943, during World War II, a bombing raid destroyed the factory, so Neumann fled to a small town called Gefell, and later that relationship, basically the two companies, they separated due to the Soviet Union taking over that part of Germany, Neumann being on the west side of the Berlin Wall, things of that nature. So in 1949, Neumann began producing the legendary U-47 large diaphragm microphone based on the M7 capsule. And it used the, again with the Telefunken, the VF-14 vacuum tube. So that's where that relationship, again, was initially came about because of using the Telefunken tube. Then in 1947, a non-electroacoustic development from Georg Neumann, he developed the sealed nickel cadmium microphone, NiCad battery, that commonly known today, which continues to make the world a better place for many applications.
I'm on the screen.
In 1960, U-67 was released, as well as the original U-87 microphones, and they're still to this day two of the most the designs are two of the most copied designs available. 66, Neumann developed phantom power, 48-volt phantom power, that is a commonly used today, and it requires less power supplies and that kind of thing. And that was because of the KM84 microphone, which was a small. In fact, I have one here. This is the latest version, the KM184. The German for Klein microphone is what KM stands for. Klein means small. So that happened in 66. In 73, they came out with the KU100 dummy head, which looks kind of like a mannequin head. If you've seen these, you'll see them at many sporting events on poles and stuff, and it picks up where the microphones, where the ears are. Very natural stereo sound for broadcast and other recording applications. In 95, let me back up. 1991 is when Sennheiser purchased Neumann from the Neumann family, and that is why we have Sennheiser logos behind us here as we're talking, and we again mentioned we work for Sennheiser. Sennheiser and Neumann are under the same umbrella, the same company, if you will, yet somewhat separate. 1995 came out with the M149 tube mic. 1997, Neumann came out with the TLM. TLM stands for transformerless microphone, and still to this day, that microphone, which is extremely affordable, is one of the quietest microphones ever made. 7 dB of noise, and that's it on that mic. They currently, in 1993, Neumann moved to Berlin, and that's where production was moved initially, and also the Neumann is majority of the microphones are being produced in Winnebostel, Germany, which is about a 20-minute train ride from Hanover, in a separate section of the Sennheiser factory, and we'll talk more about the production area here. Anyway, I know that was a lot of information and dates and models, but that kind of gives us a good overview of the company and some of the developments that Neumann has brought to the world.
For those watching, if that went right over your head, they literally invented everything important to microphones. That's what Chris basically just said.
Yeah. There's a wealth of information on their website. For the real nerds, if you want to go to their website, it's incredible. They have like build sheets on these vintage microphones. I mean, you can dig as deep as you want. It's really incredible how much information is actually on their website. So worth a shot. Check it out.
I'm surprised. I think sometimes I'm surprised of how few people know that Sennheiser, the Neumann microphones are constructed in the Sennheiser factory and have been for quite a long time. Now, they're, like Chris said, they're in a special place. All Neumann microphones are handmade, and they're handmade into they're in what they call a clean room. And it's to the NASA specification for the construction of componentry. So that the workers at Neumann who are constructing the microphones, they literally have a table with parts, right? This is an 87, it's a 67, whatever, and they have the whole the whole thing, and you can't go in there.
Deal.
Alarms go off. If there's a particulate, then alarms go off, and they eject the air, and it's really it's quite a remarkable thing, and it's a really a cool thing to witness. Anybody who's in the area, drop us a line, because we if you want to take a tour of the Sennheiser Neumann factory, you're more than welcome. We can arrange that. It's very cool. But yeah, people ask me about that. It's one of the first things I say. I get questioned at least one time at every trade show of when did we buy Neumann? And I was in grade school when it happened. So that's kind of a maybe not a very well known fact. I think that's pretty cool. Do you know that you cannot buy a matched pair of Neumanns? They're already matched.
They're already matched, all of them.
The tolerances are so tight on Neumann microphones. Yes, they are all matched. If there was a brand new mic made 7 years ago, and you got, let's say, a U87, and you have a U87 now, you put them together, you will get a matched pair of microphones to capture the stereo image.
That is remarkable. That's a remarkable level of engineering. For those that don't understand, a matched pair would be if you wanted to record something in stereo, you're going to have two microphones and you want them to sound the same. You don't want one to sound a little bit brighter, sparklier than the other one, or one to have a little more bottom than the other one. You could buy a matched pair in most other brands. These guys, you could buy any two microphones and boom, matched.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
And the matched pair concept came about because I guess, other manufacturers would do runs of microphones, and then they would do a same run with the same components, yet they would sound different. So people wanted consecutive serial numbers, hence a matched pair to get them. Now, Neumann does offer matched pair microphones. We call them matched pairs, where the serial numbers will be consecutive. But essentially, they could be made on different days, honestly.
Different years.
Yeah, different years even.
Sure,
exactly.
I mean, it's a little difficult for us to describe what the tolerances are, how these microphones are tested, the number of components and the number of finished products that are rejected for not, anything that does not be, and that's actually the same for Sennheiser as well. But there's sometimes it takes a certain amount of time to get a Neumann mic. And trust me, I can reassure you, I've been in these meetings plenty of times. They are not going to, no corners are cut for whatever reason. Whatever that reason may be, it's still the microphone is ready when they say it's ready. Because they do have, obviously, I mean, they have quite the thing to live up to be able to deliver that consistently over that number of years.
You can't get a bad Neumann mic. It holds. Getting a Neumann is like you've arrived. Like when you buy Neumann microphone, that's your badge of honor. Like I did it.
Yeah,
like, guys, I got it.
Yeah,
I have it. We win. We win the game of coolest gear out there in the world of recording studios. You got to have that. If you're going to validate your studio and be like, you're going to run a real production studio, have people in your studio, whatever it's going to be, you got to have that badge in that room, and it's got to be the right mic. It's got to be the real deal.
It's amazing. It's amazing how it legitimizes a guy's studio. I mean, the guy's like, oh, should I buy a U87? Like, you kind of have to have one. If you're going to put yourself out there as a commercial studio, you're going to charge people money. You just have to have that legitimacy. You have to have that equipment.
I mean, there's a reason that everyone from the Beatles on, like, the whole way through, all you gotta say is Beatles, but literally everyone on the planet that's recorded a hit record at some point has used a Neumann, a U87, a U47, whatever,
back in the day,
U47,
Sinatra,
U67,
Ella Fitzgerald, so on. Yes,
it's still in a couple of recordings. Yeah,
more than a few.
More than a few, but I mean, well, thank you very much for those words. But we always want to make sure that we live up to our end of the bargain, right? That's
the real deal.
That the customer, when anybody, any user, any customer, if you're renting, you're buying it, whatever you are, that when you open that box, that you know what you have, and you can always rely on it. It's a very cool, very inspiring thing.
Well, I think some of these, I mean, the cool part is these microphones have all been involved in a lot of different things. I think we should start talking about some of them. I mean, starting with I guess from the past to the present. I mean, let's start with the U series. Take us back, U47, one of the most iconic microphones ever made. Tell us about just like the U series, just a little bit about it. I know Jerry's got the newest iteration of it at his desk right there. Yes. So what was original? What was it, and how did we end up with the new U47 FET?
Yeah, well, the original 47, which I believe was released in 1949, of all things, was a tube microphone, but it had internal batteries for the condenser, 2.5 volt batteries, 2 of them in it. Now, and that was produced up until for quite some time, and then the U87, which came out, or the U67 about the same time again, same kind of thing. Technology changed, transistors came along, things changed from tube mics to transformerless mics, things of this nature, which improved, made things more efficient, easier to use, and in the case of the latest U47, the FET 47, which is a field effect transistor. Again, note that came out in the late 60s, I believe 1967. But in the 60s, of course, transistor radios were coming on board. So transistors changed everything and a lot of things. However, we still make tube microphones. Tube gear is still used, known for its warmth and all of that. But these, as these things developed, microphones and sound technology has improved.
So, right there, I mean, you got the Beatles using it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that says it right there.
And to your point a little bit, Adam, the reason why that came about, what they gravitated towards the U47 because it was the first switchable pattern on a microphone. Right.
Yeah, multiple patterns. Yes.
Right. So if I'm going to do what the Beatles were doing there, right? I need a microphone where I can switch the pattern without having to place two microphones together. You have rejection fields. You have all these kind of cross cancellations. You have all this stuff going on. It's much better to do it with one diaphragm, right? Right. So that's exactly where the U47 came from. Is that this whole concept of can I get more than one polar pattern on a mic, right? So to Chris's point, 67 and 87 came about obviously later, about 20 years after in the 60. Oh, it actually says right there 60 and 67, right? So then you can look at, and you can pop one open today, they look the same, right? But it was the addition of these diaphragms, which I think I have a cool cross section of the diaphragm. What do they call it, Chris? The 100 micron diaphragm or something like that.
Gold sputtered. Essentially, it's very small amount. I believe it's 208 atoms of gold on the diaphragm, to be somewhat exact. But yes.
But the U87 is, I mean, that's it. I mean, it's got a very noticeable sound. It's got an iconic sound. It certainly has its place in the world. Jerry's sold more of them than I probably can talk about. I mean, Jerry, who buys a U87? What's it for? What's the reason that it's held its place as the king of microphones across the decades? It's always been, if you're going to do a professional studio, you have to have one of these in your locker.
Yeah, that's generally the gist of it. I mean, it's just incredible detail. Great sounding microphone. It's very accurate. Again, people buy them to more or less legitimize their spaces. It's the kind of microphone where any singer in the world can come into your space and they're not going to stick their nose up at your mic. They're going to be like, "Wow, okay, U87, let's go." So
yeah, and nothing sounds like them. Often imitated cosmetically, but they deliver always. So
yeah, I tell a lot of people, we have our mic demo room up in our pro audio department. I tell a lot of people whenever we're talking about microphones, you can work hard to make something sound good, or you can buy U87 and it sits right where it's supposed to in the mix. When you're recording any type of music, whether it's R&B or hip hop or orchestral or opera, I don't care what it is, pop music, whatever it's going to be, if there's music going on and that voice has to jump out in front, it's got to hit you, you got to connect with that musician, that vocalist singing. That U87, it's just an upfront, it's in your face, but it's not too heavy. You don't have to cut anything, you don't have to scoop anything, you don't have to push anything up or do anything weird in engineering. You put that mic in front of the source and it sounds right. And you can do a lot. You can sit there and toil and work on EQs and work in software and plugins and all kinds of emulations and all kinds of stuff. But nothing's really quite like using the real thing. There's a reason why it is what it is.
Yeah, it's an easy path forward to a great result.
Yeah, it is the path of least resistance for sure.
And it's definitely, you kind of hit it right on the head there. It has to start at the capture point. Right. It has to start there. Right. You can't kind of unmess up the signal. So if I was out selecting a microphone and, and I'm sure that, you could lay out as long as my arm 1-inch gold diaphragm microphones from all over, right? And then on top of that, you're going to see lots of prices and all this kind of stuff. So they all kind of look the same, you know. Now you can take and absolutely feel free to do this, right? You can really pretty much take any kind of 1-inch gold splatter diaphragm microphone and set it up and go check, and it's going to sound okay. You know what I mean? It's going to be, you're like, yeah, I mean, they all kind of sound kind of similar and they sound kind of same. So what's the difference, right? The difference is, how does that diaphragm behave? How does it react when it's what I call go time? When you start pushing that diaphragm, right? You know, what do you do as an engineer? You're there to recording live, whatever, it doesn't matter. You're there to capture the moment, of what the artist is trying to get. It's my favorite part of it, that emotional moment when everybody in the studio knows, man, you got it. You know, she's on it, she's nailing it, right? So that diaphragm can't give out on you. It just can't. It's got to, whatever you do, the artist is really feeling it, and he or she, they're nice and loose, and they just punch that track, right? I think you'll find that in, kind of not as well constructed diaphragms, that a lot of them are going to give out. A lot of them are going to go to flutter. A lot of them are going to give you some distortion. A lot of them are so it's, so I feel absolutely encourage anyone to do this, with a Neumann, to when you really push that mic, is it going to deliver what's going in there, right? That it's got to do it. It's got to do it consistently, take after take, and then they're going to go away and come back in 3 weeks, and now we got to do it again, right?
Yeah.
So we got to have the same sound. It has to be consistent. It has to be right there, and it's a we're very, very passionate about what we do, and that's really what we want to do, man. It's like we want to capture those moments. And as you can see through the history of the company, we certainly have captured quite a few musical moments that have become iconic. It's really, really cool. But man, yeah, I mean, anybody, you give it a shot. Push that mic, push it hard,
and put it on different sources. That's another thing. Not all these are obviously vocal mics, but U87s. Just talking about that particular model, there's a bunch of models. But hey, guitar amps, people put them on, I've seen kick drums, whatever. When it comes, a lot of times, at least my perspective, there's no rules when it comes to miking, but having a quality, wide range of, frequency response and this kind of thing is obviously very important.
Yeah, one other thing is like how they respond to sharp transients. That's something else. Like modern vocal styles now are very staccato, like hip hop and things, where the guys are kind of 0 to 60, and how the mic responds to the transients. And this kind of gets into the instrument thing as well, Chris, is really important. That capsule has to be able to respond very, very quickly. And as I said, modern vocal styles, yeah, you have the long sustaining things now, but with hip hop music and things like that, everything's very staccato, there's like go from silence to bam, blowing up the capsule, so how the mic responds to that type of usage is really important.
And it's an undeniable sort of sound, I mean, like you can close your eyes and listen to, like you said, tons of microphones, all with the same size diaphragm, and the second you hear that U87, you know what you're listening to. It has that sound. It's going to cut right through. It's right in your face. You're like, well, yeah, I mean, that's it right there. We already have some questions from the audience that I think are worth talking about. They don't directly relate to U87, but we got people watching. They got questions. We got to answer them. Before we get into that, real quick, if you haven't already, we're giving these away. $500 headphones. Holy moly. You got to do it. Neumann NDH 20 studio headphones. They're amazing. Enter the giveaway in the link. Just do it. 4 minutes left. The last time I'm going to mention it because you just better do it. Don't miss out on this. They're crazy. We'll announce the winner later. That's all. But we have some questions. And we have some good answers, I think, to them too. From YouTube, we have a question: why not a wireless version of a Neumann? And the answer is
We have one.
there is.
We do have
So let's talk a little bit about that. We've talked about some of the studio microphones that Neumann makes. We talked about the pencil condensers and the large diaphragm condenser microphones, but there's a whole set of handheld microphones as well. So what is there in that world? And I mean, these mics are still used by the same level of artist on every stage that's been out there for a good long while.
Yeah, there's a couple of things to talk about. There are the handheld stage mics. But to first and foremost answer the question about wireless, Sennheiser Wireless systems, Digital 6000, 3000, 5000, 2000, and EW 500. You have two Neumann capsules that can be placed on those handheld transmitters. They are KK 204 or 104 and 205 and 105, a cardioid and a hyper. So yes, you can have a Neumann wireless.
Can you compare? I mean, is there a sound that like a Neumann handheld has to something else in the line, or is it just probably the best handheld that you can get? But like, does it sound like one of the TLMs? Or, like, can you compare it to something else in the line that people might be a little bit more familiar with?
Yeah, Chris, were you gonna? I heard a.
No, go right ahead.
I don't want to talk over you.
No, likewise.
Yeah. So, and I did it anyway. So you go, Chris. I'll be quiet.
Well, you can speak to how it compares to like a TLM or something, but essentially, they give you that Neumann sound. Again, that studio quality sound in a live environment. You've seen them, you've heard them. It seems like a lot of the professional singers we see and most recognized top singers on the planet use the mics. We could drop a bunch of names, but it gives you the Neumann sound in a package that works in a live situation in both a cardioid or super cardioid pickup microphone pickup pattern. And Jamie, what else you got?
So yeah, because these kind of things come across my desk quite a bit, right? We have a lot of discussions about capsules and sticks when we're dealing with professional live artists, and they definitely have a coloration to them, and I do think TLM is probably the kind of the best comparison I would give. Now, if you compare them to, let's say, a KK204 on a Digital 6000, and in a professional setting, you're most likely going to see a 9235 capsule from Sennheiser on that mic, right? So we do the Sennheisers when we have a high SPL situation and we have a high SPL performer. The Neumann caps are more articulate and they're very popular with, the way I like to term it is someone who really knows how to work a microphone, right? Someone who is really going to, they tend to be more sensitive. So I don't see those go out with, say, the rock acts and the pop acts as much. A lot in jazz, what I call, fine vocalists, Tony Bennett is a user and has been for years.
It's more nuanced. It's got that secret sauce. You're not going to belt into this, but you're going to really pick up that special, the intricacies of the voice. I can only describe it like this. Like, this is what you're picking up with that microphone.
It's like a subtlety, or it's a lot of articulation. You see it in that style of singers. Now, if you're going to get on it, right? You're doing a rock thing. No, I'm gonna move you more to a Sennheiser. That in that kind of situation. If you're super articulate, you like a lot of dynamics, and you like a really, really rich tone, then the Neumanns tend to be very popular.
Yeah, KMS 105s are incredible. I mean, they really have a big open sound, yet the side rejection from the super cardioid pattern is just works really well. And Adam will probably tell you, I was thrilled when I saw a 500 series wireless rolled in here with the KK205 capsule on it, because people had been asking for the Neumann capsules on wireless for quite a while. And of course, we had to go very high end. I think we had to go 2000 series or better, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you
to be
did.
able to get a KK205. So to bring that mic down into that price range, a wireless, was just incredible. And I think it's one of my favorite things that I carry. Adam will tell you, I was just thrilled when I was like, look at this, man, 500 series with the KK205. You know, this is incredible. So yeah, good move. Very good move on that.
We got some other good questions from YouTube also. Victor's asking, and this kind of takes us back into the world of studio microphones, and I think it's going to take us into the discussion of the badges and kind of let us talk about the different series of Neumann microphones. But Victor from YouTube is asking, what are the two most comparable entry-level condenser mics by Neumann and by Sennheiser, and how do they compare? And I know that, you know, I'm guessing we're going to talk about this guy right here, TLM 102. And then Sennheiser makes the MKH8. Still
MK4,
MK4,
and MK8,
and MK8.
Yes, sir.
So, what's the difference? I mean, Sennheiser makes a condenser studio mic. Neumann makes a condenser studio mic. What's the difference in these two microphones, real quick?
Well, a couple points, and I'm sure Jamie can probably jump in here as well. But of course, all the Neumanns, even that TLM 102, is again handmade in the Class 5 sterile environment. So again, same place that they're making the upper end large diaphragm mics. That mic is made. That, you know, is a microphone for what, $699 or something. I'm ballparking price. So extremely affordable for a high quality microphone. Where the Sennheiser microphones are again manufactured with great care and known for their quality, but are not made all made by hand like the Neumann microphones are. That's one difference just in the production of them.
This is an itty bitty microphone. I mean, the TLM 102. This is a tiny little mic, but it's the real deal. I mean, this thing sounds legit, and I think this takes us into kind of the conversation of the badges, because we have different series of Neumann microphones. There are different families of microphones, if you will, in the world of Neumann, starting with this being the entry level, and it's by no means entry level. I mean, this is a serious mic, but let's talk about the badges real quick. This one's got that red badge, and the badge by itself is pretty recognizable, but there's a story behind them, which is super cool. I think we should talk about that a little bit. So people, you know, you look at vintage microphones, you look at new microphones, you look at all the different Neumanns. How can you tell what's going on, what it is? Those that are in the world of microphones, I see Rob Berkman on here too. He could probably spot it out too on stage. You can just look at a mic and be like, "That I know what that is. That's a U series, or that's a TLM." Let's talk about the badges real quick, and let's kind of get into that a little bit, because this is the behind the badge Neumann microphone live stream. Let's talk about it.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. The diamond tells the story, and essentially the badges identify what kind of microphone it is. So the decoder ring, if you will, would be the black diamond logo, means it's a tube microphone. Purple is a FET 80.
It's actually by circuit. It's by the different badge coloration.
By the circuitry, correct? Yes.
It actually refers to the circuit design of the microphone, right? So then it's wrapped into whatever kind of tube I'm going to do, right? If you will. So Chris, you were on it. Hit it.
Yeah. No. Excellent point. Purple's a FET 80 with a transformer. Red is the FET 100, so the TLM, the transformerless mic, which you see later on the TLM 102. That enables Neumann to manufacture microphones without actual vacuum tube circuitry, but the electronics, for instance, in that mic, in the TLM 103, for example, emulates a warm tube sound, but it brings the bottom line price makes it much more affordable. Blue, the blue diamond means that it's a digital microphone because Neumann has made microphones with analog to digital converters for straight to digital recording. And the green, which you only see on a couple of Neumann microphones, is a dynamic microphone. The BCM microphones, broadcast series microphones, have the green logo. They're just your standard dynamic microphone, no phantom power needed, that kind of thing, used in broadcast, radio, this kind of thing.
Who's the
That's it.
the most famous BCM user? I think would probably be Howard Stern. He's very, if anyone has seen the live portion of his radio broadcast, that's a BCM.
We've seen a couple of those in here. They are stellar. They are kind of the you don't see them often. It's a gem in the microphone world, but man, are they cool. What model would, because I haven't seen two. What's the purple badge? What mic am I looking at if I'm looking at a purple badge Neumann?
FET 47, I believe.
Yeah,
there you go.
Has that.
UAB7.
There it is, right there. Boom. And then the U67. So you guys just re-released the U67, the reissue.
The reissue, yes.
And I think Jerry, do you have one of those back there, Jerry?
I have I have a solid state model. I do. TLM.
Oh, the TLM 67.
Which is going to be red, yes.
Also super cool.
The other one would have a black diamond on it.
So it'd be a tube.
Yes.
Full deal. So what's the difference in the reissue versus, like, if someone has, we get that question often, vintage versus new. And I know there's different series. There's U87 AI, there's the U67 reissue, there's U47 FET. Reissue is a unique one. What's the difference between the reissue versus maybe stumbling upon a vintage one?
Well, one thing right out of the chute is a vintage one is going to be used. Over time, microphones can change and all that kind of thing. Hey, did the person smoke in the studio? Did this kind of thing can affect it. So that's a big difference. They took great care to manufacture an exact sounding microphone with the newer version. So some of the I guess electronics internally might be slightly different, but only to do it in a modern age and but to retain the exact same sound. And speaking of vintage microphones, if you happen to have a vintage microphone or find one, and let's say you need a part for it, you need a new grill, or hey, I have a beat up U67 from back in the day. Neumann still has all the parts and pieces to redo that. We can do some of the work at the Sennheiser factory in Oline, Connecticut, and then of course a lot of it's something like that. If we were, hey, I want my old mic to look brand new, that would go to Germany, and they would replace everything that can be replaced, yet retain the sound and make it look new.
So they were definitely looking for the end product in the reissues, and the only thing that has been replaced has been any componentry that was no longer available by companies that since the 60s have gone out of business, right? And I know with the U47, I believe it's just the power supply. Right? That had to be redesigned.
Yeah, that's amazing that you guys can service those old mics in that fashion. That's amazing to me. And
I've even heard some discontinued models. They still have parts, So.
Which is super rare. Like when you buy like that, I mean, that's super cool. I mean, in the world of pro audio, things happen. It happens, and to know that you can buy this and you literally have the factory's worth of history backing you up to say, we can make that right, we can fix that. That's huge. This is a lifetime investment. That's the real deal. These have been, we're in the midst of COVID and things going on. these things have been super hot and hard to get, I'm imagined, because they're handmade. They can't just be printed off the press. But a pretty relevant question, I think, these days. Any disadvantages or advantages going routing a microphone through an audio interface versus going through a USB microphone? Jerry and I have had to buy and sell a ton of USB microphones these days, but it's a whole different game when you're jumping into something like this, even on a TLM 102 or a TLM 103 or TLM 49, or you want to go, the sky's the limit. And I've seen you guys put out a lot of content too about the importance of a preamp and an interface and kind of what the difference is. So I guess, what are the advantages of going with, a real deal Neumann microphone going into an audio interface versus going with something, just with and let's not talk about the digital Neumanns. That's a whole different ball game. But because
those are AES outputs on those mics.
Totally different deal. Totally different deal. Not the same thing. We're not going to go there right now. It's a whole other stream. What are the advantages of going with like a Neumann TLM 102 into a solid interface versus going with a USB microphone?
Well, I can think of a couple of things. First and foremost, if you, what I would say, take care with your preamp, right? You want a preamp that is going to pass unity with a minimal amount of coloration as possible, right? But if I do have an interface, have a mic pre, have a console, if you will, Adam, what it does is that it gives you control. Okay, it gives you non-software driven control in an audio pathway. So for micro adjustments, things of that nature, right? Second of all,
better.
I do take that componentry out of the microphone. And what I mean by that is something like a DAC. You're gonna need an analog to digital converter so that's gonna have to exist somewhere, right? I have to go from an analog signal to a computerized something of that nature. So that is your second possible failure point in gain structure, impedance matching, and the quality of the sound. First and foremost, always about the microphone. Always. Okay? The better that you start, the better it's going to sound. Right?
100%.
Right? But you do add control. You add those micro gain impedance matching and then a higher quality of DAC that you're going to get in that interface than as opposed to what you're probably going to get in a USB mic.
And speaking of preamps, Neumann this year did release and just starting to ship the V402 microphone preamp. So don't have one here to show you myself, but yes. And essentially that microphone was designed to not color the sound. A lot of times people buy preamps because they have a sound. But this is you will actually hear the voice of whatever microphone, Neumann and or other microphones that you plug into this preamp.
And I think that's important also, is that, you buy a Neumann, not just because it's a condenser microphone, you buy it because of its sound. You buy it because it has a particular sound that captures the voice better than other microphones. It does. I mean, you can say that it may be very transparent, but there's a sound to that, and that's important. And I think that absolutely is the advantage of being able to select a microphone and plug it into an interface versus just buying something that's quick and easy to get, to do a Zoom call. And these days, you're on Zoom calls more. People hear you. If they can't see you, look, I'm going to call Chris out a little bit. I can't see Chris that great, but I can hear him. And if I can hear, then it doesn't matter. You can continue the call. Before we were all doing this, we were all on the phone. And it matters if you can hear someone. The better you hear someone, the better the voice comes through. It's just like radio. It's why Howard Stern uses a BCM. I mean, these things capture your attention. They make your ears prick up. You hear certain things in the microphone, and that totally changes the game. Jerry, you have this conversation probably every single day. How do you direct someone between, going, hey, I just want to do a USB microphone and do it for my vocal recording versus jumping into the real deal.
Yeah, well, the real deal provides a different level of engagement. I mean, it's just like like Jamie pointed out, you're dealing with the higher quality capsule in the microphone itself. The digital, the digital conversion is being done by higher quality components. It's again, the USB mics are just kind of a convenience thing in my mind. There are some that actually sound pretty good, that are fairly accurate in their sounds. But there's really no substitute. I mean, if you're doing critical work and you really want to have that presence and that impact, that's the way you need to go. You need to go with an interface and a good quality microphone. As Jamie pointed out, it all kind of begins and ends like right there at the capsule. That's ultimately what really matters. It's pretty exciting that they have this preamp now. I'm really excited to get one of those in here and try it out because I like the idea. Who knows their mics better than the manufacturer? So I suspect that preamp is probably going to maintain the sound of all of these microphones very accurately. So good stuff.
That's for sure.
And I also would like to bring attention to the Chuck Levin's microphone room, which is phenomenal for testing mics. You can go into a isolated room and you can hear various Neumann mics, and you can route them through whatever preamp. Yeah, there's a wonderful picture Jerry has there. And so, because the thing is, you have to match the mic to the voice or to the source, the instrument. So, case in point, very quickly, I was involved in a session where we were teaching some audio students, and we recorded we recorded a jazz group, okay, using Neumann's, and then we had a fantastic female vocalist, and we had all the 6 mics, lined up, 6-7 mics, and she sang on all of them, U87, 67, 2 mics, blah blah. On her voice, oddly enough, the TLM 103 smoked everything else because of the resonance and the sound of her voice. So, it's very important if you have the opportunity to audition microphones and compare them to get a good picture of what you're listening to and how it's going to perform.
100%. I was just going to say, and that you were in my mind, microphones. I nerd out. I love microphones more than most things in this world of audio. I describe them as like the paintbrushes for the audio engineer. Like, this is how you're going to capture it. If you're behind the console, this is what you have to determine and color and craft the sound and capture the sound in a way that's going to be pleasing to the audience, however that may be. And that's why there are if there's one microphone that ruled them all, there'd be one microphone and it would be it, and there'd be nothing else. And Neumann certainly has a couple one microphones to rule them all, but they all have their place and they all have their own sound. There's a reason there's a TLM 102. It's not just because it's a price point. It's a distinctly different microphone, and it sounds better on certain things than a TLM 49 and a TLM 103 and a U47. I mean, they all have a sound to them. And that's the exciting part about microphone selection, is that just because you have X doesn't mean it's the right thing for everybody else. Just because you might have a different voice, you might have a different preamp. That's why we built that room. If you have a preamp, you want to bring it in and try microphones, come on. Like, let's do it. We got a bunch of preamps in there, but you can mix and match and do whatever. And it totally, you talked about impedance matching and matching the mic to the preamp and to the voice. It's just like a guitar into an amp, They respond differently. These are electronics and electrons, and we can go so nerdy and geek out for hours and hours and hours, but they literally respond differently. When you twist that gain knob and you turn something up such a way, it sounds different. Jerry does this all day. I think that we're getting near the end of this. We got to give away these headphones. What's everyone's favorite Neumann microphone, and why? Like, why is it your favorite one? Let's start with Jerry. Jerry, what's your favorite Neumann?
Well, I don't know. That's kind of a tough call, but
I knew it.
I like the TLM 49 a lot.
I knew it.
This is a great mic. Yeah, I do a lot of these for vocals. It's really cool to watch people light up and when they become inspired by the equipment. They they step up and they try a couple of different mics. Of course, everybody wants to try the U87, but that's not within reach for a lot of people. So we try to find other things that are really good. But yeah, I like this. This has a nice characteristic. I'm kind of a big fan of tube mics. So this retains some of that characteristic without having to deal with external power supplies, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, this is the one that I usually show people a lot. It's a great value, great vocal mic.
Jamie, what's your go-to Neumann microphone?
It is the 87. Right.
Classic.
Yes, because all of them are my favorites. Right?
Yeah.
So I love articulation in a vocal. I love a vocalist who knows how to work a diaphragm. So you want a 47, right? Now, I also like screamers. So you want a 67. And then I really love the M49. And then I need TLMs too, because I love TLMs on drums. Right? So I can't have all of those. My mom won't let me spend that much. So I cut it right down the middle with the U87.
Chris?
That's a tough one. Loaded question.
You're not wrong in any of them.
I know. TLM 49 for me, because on my particular voice, it makes me sound better than I am, or accentuates whatever I have, if any, good total quality. But you can't go wrong with the 87, and I love the reissue U67 microphone.
My favorite's got to be TLM 103. I mean, I love them all. Don't get me wrong. U87, if you're running a professional studio, like, there are reasons why these all exist. Like I said, like, there's a reason there's a U87, and it hasn't changed much for tens and tens and tens of years. There's a reason U47 exists, but a TLM 103 just has that sparkly top end. It just sounds so nice, and when you plug it into the right preamp, and it just brings it all back, everyone sounds good. Everyone sounds good on it. It's the best. It doesn't make you. Look, you don't want. No one wants to hear me sing on it, but it sounds really good. We could go for hours. We could go for tons and tons of hours. I know we could. There's tons of mics to talk about. We barely even talked about the M series microphones, which are ridiculous. We didn't talk about but a few of these things, but I think we can't leave these people waiting anymore. We didn't even touch on the studio monitors. We have the whole other stream about Neumann studio monitors. They are ridiculous. We were just talking about our friend Mike Munster down in Tennessee that has an Atmos studio of Neumann monitors. It's ridiculous. We'll probably post it on our social media. They're incredible. They're great speakers. Check out our studio monitor stream that we have on YouTube. We talked about them. They're incredible. But without further ado, let's do it. Let's give these things away. Neumann NDH 20 headphones. Guys, who is getting these things? Who's our winner? David from Falls Church. Congratulations. You are a lucky winner tonight.
Congratulations.
We'll hit you up. We'll hit you up tomorrow. Yeah. We'll get your address. You're not too far away. If you want to drive out here, put on a mask, come on out here, get these things. We'll have some fun. Jamie, Chris, we appreciate it. Any final words? Any last things you want to say tonight to the people that are watching? We've had a great audience, great questions. Anything you want to say?
Go ahead, Chris.
Thank you. We appreciate you joining us. We appreciate you guys there at the store, and we appreciate the support. And hey, don't hesitate to reach out as well if you have questions, concerns, anything. We're always happy to help.
Yeah, come on by. We're there in Berlin. Anybody headed over, drop us a line, man. They got some really cool stuff there. So yeah, to reiterate, my trusted colleague Chris, thank you so much for being interested in this topic, right? And to everyone listening, We've been in business for a long time. You don't stay in business for a long time without being very, very good at what you do. So I think I got to applaud the guys at Washington Music, certainly an icon in the industry, please. I mean, these are definitely your guys.
Yes.
Jerry, any final words?
That's it. Thank you guys I appreciate it. Yeah. Chris?
All I can say is come try them out. If you're around, if you're in the DC area, come on in. We got them in stock now. Finally, they're back. They're here. Look at that. Jerry's got them all right there. You want to know what the difference is between a TLM 102, a TLM 103, a U47, a U87? Come figure it out. That is the only way you're going to learn. You can plug them in. They sound different on your voice than that voice you're hearing on YouTube. And I promise you, they sound different than they do on YouTube. I had it plugged into my interface beneath me. I didn't even bother because it doesn't do it justice. You got to come in. You got to try them out. We got the room. Just do it. Come on in. We're ready for you. Thanks, everybody. Yep. Happy Wednesday.
Thank
Stay
you,
safe.
Chris.
Congratulations to our winner. We'll see you next time for another Chuck Levin's Live.